Okay, so we as Oklahoma fans have been a little frustrated with this season, especially with what we're seeing, right? What we're seeing tells us it's not working or what we have isn't good enough. And when you hear people like me tell you it's going to get better, help is on the way, but then week in and week out, it looks like it keeps getting worse, you just don't feel good about the situation. Today, we got to take a deeper look into it, though, because I really do feel like the offensive line woes for Oklahoma can get better. The key component to all of this is just going to be health. Can your guys stay healthy enough to play with Jackson Arnold week in and week out, gain that camaraderie, get that chemistry going, and ultimately put something together that can be somewhat competent for the rest of the season? That's what Oklahoma fans at least just want to see, especially as you're going into a game where you're going to be playing Tennessee and you don't really want to lose that game. So let's dive into it. If you're new to the channel, as always, make sure you join the discussion. Jump down in the comments below. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We want you to be a part of it here. We're going to have a fun little guest this week for the Tennessee preview coming up. So make sure you're not missing that. But let's just dive right into the offensive line, because although last week we talked about the offense improving against Tulane, you felt like at times the offensive line just completely busted. You felt like there were moments where Jackson Arnold was scrambling for his life, which ended up making mistakes, costing Oklahoma at 1.6 points. And there's no rhyme or reason. There is no good excuse for it at this point. Like, you have injuries. There should be guys that could be able to step up. And you've seen a lot of good things out of this room. And that's where I think we've got to start with this, right? And in the NIL era, I think it's really easy to go after these players in a way that we never have before, because so many people are donating to these players with their own money. So you feel like you have a stake in this to be able to have that kind of opinion. And having that opinion is 100% okay. We just don't want to attack the players to a point where, you know, yeah, we're just not going to get into that. But some of the things that you've seen really good from this offensive line is, I think the brightest spot is Logan Howland. You've seen him come in as a tackle, play in 72 snaps, and grade out overall at 63.8. So obviously a lot of room for improvement. But in the pass blocking game, he's got a 69.7 with the 59.6 run. So Logan Howland could be a great backup swing tackle for you. So if you're Oklahoma, like, you've put in some backups, you put in some young guys, and I think you found one guy in a tackle who, over the next couple of years, I think you're going to feel really, 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 really good about. Now, looking at this offensive line as today and what it potentially is going to be against Tennessee, I think there's a lot of buzz of expecting Branson Hickman and Troy Everett to be back for this game. And if those two are back, I think it seismically changes your offensive line. And I think a lot of people were really excited to see Hito Zaida. And the question is, does Hito Zaida still get in at left guard? Because if Troy Everett comes back, you're going to get him at a position that last year, I feel like he played pretty well when he got to play left guard for Oklahoma up until the Texas game. And so I'm going to share this with you guys so you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at as we're talking through it. But as you can see here, it tells you the position that he played for that game, how many snaps he got, and it gives you the pass block and the run block grade with a overall offensive grade. And I look at this and I say, SMU, Tulsa, Cincinnati, Iowa State, those were his best games at left guard. 80.5, 84, 62.1, and 87.2 in the pass blocking game. And here's my deal. We have talked about how if you are able to give Jackson Arnold more time, you get some of these other wide receivers back like Nick Anderson or Andrell Anthony, it's going to allow the running game to open up a little bit more. So although some of these run blocking grades that we're going to see from these guys are not as good, I feel like if the passing game is going, the running game will eventually get going. And I think the running backs will make the offensive line look a little bit better in that grading than I think what the numbers actually tell you. So by these grades, I'm telling you, I think the best option, at least for the time being, would probably be Michael Tarquin at right tackle, Fabichi Wewu at right guard, Branson Hickman at center, Troy Everett at left guard, and Jacob Sexton at left tackle. That is probably got to be your 5 best offensive linemen that you can put out there. That also makes it to where you have a guy in Josh Bates who's had some time now at center. You have a guy in Heath Ozida that can come in, be a backup guard. You have a guy in Logan Howland who can be in swing tackle, and a guy in Spencer Brown who, although a lot of people were not happy with him after the first game, I think in the SEC plays a little better, because when I was talking to Jay about it, he's talked about him playing too high, but in the SEC, playing a little bit higher might just work because you're playing against bigger defensive linemen. So looking at it, getting Troy Everett back, that would be huge for this offensive line. But then you go to Branson Hickman, who he played in one game for you, only 10 snaps. So not a lot to go off of in terms of this season for Oklahoma, because even though his pass grade was a 74.7. So you got to look at what he did last year. And this was one of the best centers in college football last year. And as you can see from the numbers here, you see a lot of green, borderline blue. Blue is like the best they can be. And so if you're an Oklahoma fan, getting Branson Hickman back to pair up with Jackson Arnold to be able to help with those play calls, that is going to incrementally help the Sooners, especially as they head into SEC play. And then, like I said, if you look at 2 of the other key positions that you got, Michael Tarquin has been your best offensive lineman. And although at times it's not been pretty for him, and Oklahoma fans haven't been happy with whether it's not lining up on the line correctly or, missing a couple blocks, he's been your best tackle this year. Leaps and bounds. 72.5 in the run block in the first game, 67.4 in pass block. But he is incrementally improved after he moved from the left tackle position. And I think Michael Tarquin can be a guy that helps you anchor down that offensive line this year. So, yes, Oklahoma fans are frustrated. And you guys are right to be frustrated. You guys are right with it. But I think where we as fans are missing the point is we are jumping ship too early and acting like this offensive line and this offense can't get it together. If Jackson Arnold is given a little bit more time to make these decisions, because remember, he's young, so he's not going to be able to make those decisions as quickly as maybe a guy like Dylan Gabriel could, right? I think as you give him more time, as you get more guys back in the wide receiver room, this offense will develop a little bit more. This offensive line will start to develop more confidence, and there you will see the run game get going. Might not happen against Tennessee. It might happen against Tennessee, might not. But if it doesn't, it's going to happen at some point this season. At this point, it's about being patient. You have a young team. And I was talking about this in the Discord the other day, but I said, guys, I think 2025 is the year for Oklahoma. Because where I don't think you see a lot of guys jump ship early to go to the draft, because if they stay one more year, they have a chance to incrementally improve their draft grade. I think if a lot of those guys return, you could have one of the best offensive line rooms, running back rooms, wide receiver rooms. Your defense is going to be really solid next year. That 2025 might be the year for Oklahoma. 2024 might be a let's get it together year. And if you still win 9 games in a year, you get it together, you've got to be ecstatic about that, especially in your first year in the SEC. So join the discussion. Jump down in the comments below. Give me your guys' thoughts. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and you hit that subscribe button.